Assembly of the Assault AirBike. The first step is to unbox your bike using a utility knife or pair of scissors. You'll want to lay the bike on its side and cut the straps. Once it's opened, you can prop the box back up on the open side and slide the box off the bike parts. Carefully cut away all tape and plastic from the bike. It's very important to not miss any parts packed in the styrofoam, so be sure to check each piece. The owner's manual is located on the top. The single sheet at the top includes a lot of important resources that you can find on our YouTube channel, so save it for future reference. Do the same on the reverse side, taking all the parts out, laying them out individually, and taking inventory. Unpackage all of the parts from their plastic casings and remove the plastic covering from the main frame. Lay out all the parts: the rear stabilizer, computer console with packet of batteries, front stabilizer, right and left bar, left and right pedal, console mast, and your seat. Open the packet of tools that comes with your bike. In this first step, we're going to take the front stabilizer bar and use the 6mm Allen key to loosen these bolts. You want to back them out all the way and set the bolts aside. Then, remove this red tube at the front, which is used only for packaging. You can use it in your assembly process to prop the bike up like so. Slide the front stabilizer in. Replace the 6mm bolts you set aside and start threading them by hand. Then use the Allen key to tighten them all the way. This is the foundation for the bike, so make sure the bolts are nice and tight. You'll then repeat this process with the rear stabilizer. For the next step, we are going to install the console mast to mount the console. Remove the 6mm bolts from the top of the bike. Take the cable attached to the top and remove the wire clamp to unwind the wire. Grab the console mast and thread the wire through the bottom to the top. Be very careful not to pinch the wires while threading or when closing the console. Flip the console mast over and place on top of the bike, aligning the holes. Take your 6mm bolts, insert them into holes, hand tighten, and then finish tightening with the Allen key. The next step is to mount the console, and the first thing we want to do is install the batteries. So remove the 2 AA batteries provided and insert them one by one. When the console makes a beeping sound, you know the batteries are properly installed and the console is working. Replace the battery cover, which may feel snug because of a rubber backstop that keeps the batteries in place. Press down firmly until you hear a click. When you see the console is powered on, you want to connect these 2 cables like so. They will follow all the way down to the speed sensor to give you accurate readings. Before you can mount the console onto the mast, you'll want to remove the Phillips screws on the back of the console using the Phillips screwdriver included in the package. Set the screws aside and be careful not to pull the cable. Then, carefully run the wire back down the console mast while you align the console in place. There is a little lip on the back of the console that shows you where to align the console. Replace the Phillips screws you set aside and begin to tighten them by hand on the back of the console. Finish by grabbing your screwdriver and tightening all 4 screws on the back of the console. Our next step is to install the right and left arms. Take the right arm and remove any remaining packaging. Align the peg to the slot on the right side and begin to tighten by hand, being careful not to cross-thread. It should go in very easily at first and then get harder as you go past the blue Loctite on the threads. When you can no longer tighten by hand, lay the handle down. Then grab the scissors or utility knife and undo the zip tie on the linkage arm. Remove the protective foam. Notice that the bolt and nut used to link the upper arm to the lower arm are already installed. Loosen the 13mm nut on top by hand or with the wrench provided. Then you can connect the upper arm to the lower linkage arm. You may need a bit of space, so you can rotate the pedals first. Then Put the linkage bolt through the eye at the bottom of the arm. Take your 13mm nut and hand tighten it. Finish by using the 6mm wrench to hold the outside bolt in place and turn the 13mm nut inside until it is tight. It should take about 5 to 6 quarter turns. After the linkage arm is assembled and the peg is tightened, use the 22mm wrench to tighten the main nut you loosened at the beginning. Repeat these steps on the left side. The next step is to install the seat. First, take your 6mm Allen key and back out the 6mm Allen bolt that is pre-installed on the seat post and set it aside. Take the seat, line it up, and slide it onto the horizontal bar. It'll be snug, so you may need to wiggle it on. Take your 6mm bolt with the large washer and install into the seat post, first tightening by hand and then finishing with your 6mm Allen key. Make sure the seat clamp is on the knurled part of the seat rail and slide the seat all the way back to the stop washer. Grab your 13mm wrench and come back to level the seat using the center clamp as your visual to line up the center of the post. Move it side to side to get it centered. Take your 13mm wrench and tighten one side just enough to make it snug. Then, make sure you tighten the other side equally, alternating 2 quarter turns at a time. The leveling of the seat is important, and so is the seat tilt. When you're tilting a seat front to back, you want to have the front of the seat level with the rear. Once it is level, tighten the seat. The next step is to install the pedals. Be sure to distinguish the right pedal from the left. The left will be marked with a piece of yellow paper to identify it. The right pedal is going to go on and twist in a standard clockwise motion. Begin the tightening by hand, and then use the 15mm cutout on your multi-use tool to tighten. To finish, take your 6mm Allen key and insert it into the side of the pedal to tighten that as well. The left-hand side pedal is unique, so it is important to pay attention when doing this side. The pedal is marked with a yellow tag because it will twist counterclockwise instead of clockwise like the right pedal. Be careful not to cross-thread the pedal. Take the left pedal, match it to the left pedal crank, and begin tightening it counterclockwise. Take the multi-tool and use the 15mm cutout to continue to tighten counterclockwise until it is nice and tight. Finish the tightening of the left pedal using the 6mm Allen key on the inside bolt.